All right, welcome to Shunya One, episode 122. How's it going, Amit?
I'm doing well, man. Looking forward to getting back to work. Tired of this pandemic nonsense.
Oh man, of course. And I've started by changing up and getting cleaned up, at least
I
for
can
the real
tell.
world, in case I have to step out.
I know you need to go to office. You need to be all like unshaved or rather shaved and stuff, right? You can't.
Exactly.
You can't keep the sadhu look going.
No, I don't think that's a smart idea. I think I'm doing enough by uh, just being on screen here and not spreading anything to anyone. So yes, definitely being clean is one way to go. But it's good to be back, and of course talking to someone very interesting today. Welcome, Saurabh. Welcome to the show. How's it going with you?
Thank you, Shiladitya, for having me. Wonderful day, going awesome. It's been now almost an year since how everyone is accustomed to the new normal, and I am no different to that.
Yeah, we can
Lovely.
tell you have a beard as well. I don't know if that's a pandemic beard or it's a normal beard.
I have had pre-pandemic this too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I catch up in a few weeks. So I'll be post pandemic in a few weeks if I just let go. That's all the time we now need to revert back. If it's like how the city is anyway going, like high cases back to lockdown, we might have that anytime now.
Mhm.
Hoping
True.
for the best, of course.
Yeah,
But
fingers crossed.
but that brings me to, of course, your world, Saurabh, and which I think if you can tell us a little more about, because your world obviously has been digital and not so much in the physical world for a long time. So can you introduce yourself, your journey a little bit, and of course tell us about Flickstree and the actual industry that you're in? Because I think uh, a lot of us in the digital space probably know about the things you do, but many people, especially on other entrepreneurs building apps, building products, they may not. So we would love to hear from you as to why you got into this and your journey.
All right, sure. So, since you spoke about the industry piece, let me start with that, and then maybe I'll start tying up things into what we do and why we do and stuff like that, right? So, we all know the geo effect that caught everyone's eye in, I guess, around 2017, uh, where internet users started growing extremely fast, especially in India. But today, if you see, the phenomenon is all around the world. Google defines the process as the next billion user, NBU as you call it, because internet is getting faster, data is becoming cheaper. And what it has done to the ecosystem is watching videos on smartphones has gone up from almost nothing about a couple of years ago to today 60% of internet, which simply means that if you are consuming 100 MB of data on your mobile phone, 60 MB you are consuming watching videos. And some
Mhm.
amazing video apps that have come all around, YouTube and Facebook were always there, has only added to this entire scope. So in this entire ecosystem, there are two partners, if you see, who are there, or there are two stakeholders of the ecosystem who are, so to speak, in a way, I would say, struggling, or it's a challenge for them. Let me talk about the both parts one by one. One is, let's say, the website owners, the app owners, all the telecos who used to heavily depend upon value added services. And today, data is so cheap that they still have to make money somehow. The mobile phone OEMs, hardware prices are getting cheaper, and they are also looking at themselves as internet companies. So, what do they want? They want to show video content to their users. Uh, Aggregating content is expensive, creating content is, of course, expensive, right? So, they have a video content solution need. At the same time, what do brands want? Brands understand that people have stopped reading, they have started watching. And if content marketing is the future, then video content marketing has to be that game. So we, in a way,
Hmm.
marry both these in the world. We are Flickstree. We create content, proprietary content. We create proprietary intellectual properties around shopping, around entertainment, around some of those areas which millennials like, largely nonfiction. These are all professionally generated studio quality content. This is not the user generated TikToks of the world. And then on one side, of course, we partner with brands today, about 650 plus of them, whom we have partnered in our life cycle, 100 plus active at any point in time. And on the other side, we play our video content to our partner publishers, as we call them. It could be the Samsung is one of our partners, Xiaomi, Jio, Yahoo, many media companies, many cashback and coupon companies where we generate the shoppable content and we create sales and leads for our partner brands. Today, in essence, we are a video content platform where we embed our video player on our partner websites and apps. We create content with our partner brands and we reach more than 50 million users across our own websites and our 150 plus partner websites.
Wow. And I mean, what brought you into this? I mean, I have a few more questions around obviously the specifics, but what personally for you, what sort of brought you into this? Is this what line you were in before? Because you've talked about multiple disciplines here that Flickstree goes through. You're also producing content, which is of course a very real life physical sort of thing to do, like shooting and production. And then you have the entire distribution angle. So what got you personally into this, if you
So,
were to say?
so I was working with Asian Paints. 2004, I joined them for about 12 years. 2016, I was with them, and in the last few years, I was doing a lot of content, doing a lot of shoots, doing a lot of product marketing. Uh, there, obviously, the world of content, I would say, started fascinating me. So the first 3, 4 years, 5 years were in sales and field. But when I moved to the central function, that's where some of these spaces started catching my eye. As things were moving along, one of the things I realized in this, especially in the digital world, is everybody was doing direct B2C. So, for example, if I was at Asian Paints, which is a very, very traditional channel driven company, it's a great consumer brand, but they don't sell a single liter of paint to the consumer directly. They go through the hardware channel, and of course, they have built a mammoth brand around that. I thought let's start with this to begin with in the digital world because everybody in the digital world were burning a lot of money acquiring consumers directly. And what if we were able to create content channels for us by partnering with multiple large websites and apps and multiple of them who would in turn benefit with the kind of content that we create, right? And that was the whole thought philosophy, that was the whole
Interesting.
channel of trying and creating a B2B2C brand. And in the process, of course, we ended up creating a good B2C brand, but the go to market initially was B2B2C, and eventually we started launching our own platforms also.
Interesting. So if I could just jump in over here, right? So how would you so you work with brands in some ways clearly. How would you differentiate what you do from like say what a TVF does? Right? I mean, like, because they're also working with brands in some integrated ways. They're creating content. They have certain platform kind of identities. They do wide scale distribution across a number of different platforms. They have their own platform as well. How is what you do? Because I'm trying to kind of get some differentiation here.
Sure.
And I get
So
it.
Sure. So TVF is an amazing brand where they have created properties. What people would create lifetimes to create some of these great properties, right? So super respect in that space. What TVF does very successfully is branded solutions,
Hmm.
which simply means that brands need to create content, and TVF has already showcased their content creation capabilities. So they go to the brand and say, hey, if you have a brief, if you want to create certain content, this is the roster of work that we have done, and allow us to take over, and we will create some content that your users would love as they watch. It's like storytelling in the format of their method, and TVF does that successfully. What TVF also does very successfully is they commission content with OTT platforms. So people like MX Player from Times. So what they do is they keep coming up with a lot of web series, and TVF has amazing, I would say, capabilities in delivering those great web series in a format of storytelling, and they are in a way white labeling the backend production for somebody like an MX Player. Uh, we don't do any of these two
Right.
today. We don't create fictional content, as I said. Ours is largely real life content, largely what brands associate with, largely what involves consumers in a real life manner. I'll give you a couple of examples to qualify what I'm saying. And we also don't do agency work.
Mm.
So, for example, if you're a brand and you say that, hey, I'm clear that this is the kind of video shoot that I want to make, and will Flickstree come and take over the shoot? That is where I guess TVF will do a better work than us.
Mm.
And we don't take that work. What we rather do is we create our own properties. We go to the brands and we say, this property seems like you are the right fit, and the brands come and partner there.
Okay.
Right. So that these are the two, I would say, main differences. That services is one business that we don't do, because that's we feel that it's not scalable as far as we go. We are global in that sense. We also use video content to sell products. We do performance marketing there. Consumers click on an interactive video player with a buy button that lands on the brand website, and consumers make e-commerce purchase. And we have integrated our pixels on the brand thank you pages so that we know that the consumer ended up purchasing. We also charge affiliate commission. So there's a very I would say, interesting model that we have created. Rather than just creating content, we create content, we distribute content across all our platforms and not on social media. Social media is not our platform. uh,
So I was going to ask, when you were describing this, the first part at least, the production side, sounds like you are making ads, the traditional ads of like Asian Paints would do before. How is it really? I mean, apart from the distribution and the fact that it's all digital and embedded, is that part different? Like you do ads for for brands like Asian Paints and others?
so we that is the space that we actually don't do. uh,
Okay.
so let me try and give you a couple of examples so that for the audience they are also clear in terms of how we are very different from
Yeah.
that example, right? Yeah. So we have, in a sense, four flagship properties that are running very well for us. One of the property is called Now You Know. As the name suggests, now you know. Here we talk about things that are daily happening around us. Why do we blink eyes? It could be as simple as that, right? What if tomorrow there was no moon? Do dogs see what humans see? So things that are very quirky in nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not an ad, right? And there are intelligent brand plugins, right? So there would be an
Okay.
intelligently pedigree plugged into do dogs see what humans see, or for that matter. These are native
Right.
plugins. So it's again storytelling without getting into brand commercials. People hate ads, right? So if you're watching a
Yeah.
YouTube video, you wait for the skip button to appear. If it doesn't appear at times, it bothers. Yes, what if there was a skip button? I would have clicked it fast. People love watching stories, one after the other, right? We have more than 500 million video views in a month because people love watching stories one after the other. And we hence excel in the format of storytelling. This is one kind of content, right? Then other kind of content is where we do shopping, where we say top five summer accessories you should have in your wardrobe,
Hmm.
Mm.
right? Which is purely aimed at enabling people take an action and not just have brand consideration, right? Best kitchen essentials you could own. And if you, it could be about travel, it could be about gadgets, it could be about whatever. And these are listicle kind of videos
Yeah.
where people like okay, let's see what is, so this is editorial approach, right? It's our point of view.
Mm.
And there we natively say that if you want any of these, Mintra is one of our partners.
Mm.
So we don't say Mintra is one of our partners. We say if you want any of these, there is a buy button link flashing at top, and go and check out the best hats you should own this summer, because from the scorching heat, it could save you. People end up will go to Mintra. People end up buying, right? And since we are directly integrated, so this is again a very second kind of thing where it is more like BuzzFeed in the format of video.
Mm.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah, rather than creating commercials. And the third one is purely properties. When I say intellectual properties, it is like anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, at times 25 minutes web episodes, but again, completely non-fiction. So to give you an example, we run a property called Power Play League. During the
Mm.
IPLs, the PCCI president, Saurabh Ganguly, He comes and tells the viewers that, hey, while you are watching IPL, why not play PPL? And I'll give you certain trivia questions. I will ask who is going to hit maximum number of fours today. What's the score in power play going to be like? And he then also does a chat show with fellow cricketers and stuff and all of that. Fun, quirky, 25, 30-minute episode. Uh, People send a lot of entries, right? And of course, we give them our brand partner goodies. We give them opportunity to go and watch the finals. People go and watch, do photo ops with Saurabh himself and stuff and all of that, right? Music shows, and there's so many other properties that we
Yeah.
do. But here, what happens is, so people, the celebrities live tweet, "I'm at this location. Do you want a specific song for me to sing?" And people sell their songs, send their songs. But overall, brand integration is moving along with the consumer together,
Right.
right? So just one more example to bring the context even more alive. We are doing, or we are almost in the stages of finalizing a property show with one of the tourism boards of a foreign company. Here we are doing a treasure hunt where celebrities come and tell people that, hey, I'm giving you a clue, and tell me what this clue is in this location. And people will talk about these are the clues, and then the celebrity goes and acts there and says, hey, this is the clue, you were right, and now the next clue. The idea is to bring about, there's so much to do in that particular location, right? So we conceptualize properties very in a non-fiction manner, which involves audiences, which brings about the brand saliency, moves brand consideration, and at times also enables e-commerce. So all of it together, but completely
Wow.
content as a route.
Well, there's a lot there, right? I mean, like, just generally. So let me ask you a couple of questions around this, right? Uh, so you're IP driven, so you first create your content and then you go out and find brand partners that would work with the kinds of IPs that you're kind of trying to create here, right? How do you ensure distribution of their messaging once you get the brand partner on board, right? Because as you said, you don't use social media, you're more of a this, right? So what are the distribution platforms that you kind of touch upon to kind of get the content out there?
So you asked me two questions. One is,
Mhm.
how do we make sure that the brand messaging is correct in our content, and second is, how do we distribute it right?
Right.
Correct.
Well, so more the second question, actually. The first question,
Sure.
I guess that's just a thing that you have to work with the brand to get done. But
Sure.
the second question, I think, is what's
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because when we are talking to brands for what we do over here, right, at IBM, distribution is part of the key kind of this, right? The idea part is honestly
Exactly.
it's complicated, but it's work, right? You know how to do that. It's the distribution stuff which is where things get a little more complex
Yeah.
for us at least.
Yeah. In fact, we built distribution first, and that's where actually we have created our moat. That's the massive, I would say, advantage that we have been able to get, because we did not start completely as a content company. We were aggregating content first because we realized that content can be created well. What is more important is the distribution. Today we have, as I said, if I am not mistaken, 167 partners or so. So let's put it, give and take, 150 plus partners,
All
right?
right.
Who are these partners? Companies like, okay, so all four categories or five categories, I would say, and give examples around that. So let's say Samsung, Xiaomi, Micromax, Xiaomi, Oppo. These are what? Mobile phone OEMs.
Mm.
They have a lot of apps. Those apps could be browsers that you are using on a default basis, like
Mm.
Apple has Safari. Apple is not our partner, right? So people use browsers and there are bookmarks on the browser, right? There are lock screens. Even before you unlock the phone,
Mm.
the screen that appears, right? Content comes there. If you right swipe your phone, keep right, the widgets which appears right at the end. We call the leftmost screen, right? Or we call zero screen. The widgets appear. Our video player is integrated in one of those widgets. So a lot of those content flows in a discoverable format in these mobile OEMs,
Mm.
right? People discover the content rather than people intent wise search the content. It's not YouTube, it's discovery, right? And the
Right.
moment they say, hey, okay, there is Saurav Ganguly saying something, people relate to relatable characters. There could be large social media influencers talking about something, so people end up watching the content. So that's one way. Second is telecos. So, for example, Geo happens to be one of our biggest partners,
Mhm.
and we are part of their growth program. There, we engage with close to about good 10 million plus users
Hmm.
across geo platforms, and yeah, so that's another big opportunity that we have been able to crack. We enable geo users get content, and in turn, obviously, we get distribution and access for our partner brands who want to promote their
Hmm.
content to geo users. So telecom is another interesting space.
Can you expand on it a little bit, like how do the mechanics of working with a telecom operator work in this case, right, where you have content created which needs to be distributed to their users, right? What's the mechanism that that would happen through?
So there are two models. Geo is a different model, and Airtel and Vodafone is another model.
Okay.
So an Airtel Vodafone model is they have their own app.
Hmm.
Vodafone has VI, Vodafone
Right.
Idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Airtel has My Airtel, and you will see that there's a lot of content out there,
Hmm.
right? So what you typically then do is you embed your video player in one of those spaces which you identify with them,
Okay.
and when users come on that app, they watch your content. That's one way.
Okay.
The other way is Geo way. Geo allows you to so Geo has ecosystem of apps.
Hmm.
It allows you to work with them and create your own app.
Okay.
And so today, I think Geo was telling me they have 50 apps or so with about good 26 or 27 partners. We have two
Okay.
apps on Geo for that matter.
Okay. So
So
yeah, so this is like in the MyGeo app, or this is where they have all the different apps that you.
Geophones, Geo
Yeah.
has 150 million Geophones.
Oh, okay. It's in the Geo phones. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so these
I'm
are
sorry, I didn't
preloaded
catch
apps.
that piece. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
as I said, so Geo is a different. So these are all my Geo. Sorry, these are all Geophone apps
Okay.
and
All right.
preloaded into the ecosystem, and that's where we get about 10 million users. From there, about 120, 130 million active installs or
Wow.
active devices that they have, right? So that's telecom. Then there
Right.
is media websites.
Hmm.
When I say media website, it could be somebody like a Yahoo, it could be somebody like Z News. It could be somebody like Network 18, and there's so many others, right? These are people who are typically on the news section. Here you will see that largely we are a phenomenon of in article. So in article is when you're reading an article, let's say India just won the fourth T20 international, and you're reading the article. In between, a video pops up, more like an ad, right? Here, a video player suddenly pops up. And the video player, again, you will see that something is happening. The user says, hey, something interesting is happening, and he ends up watching a content. What it does to the media company, A, it dramatically increases their time spent on the page,
Hmm.
right? Which otherwise was a 2 minute read. The user ended up spending 12 to 15 minutes on that one page,
Right.
right? And in that 12, so while their metric went up, what also happened in the process is since they have put at the back, let's say a Google banner ad, which changes every 30
Hmm.
seconds. So while the user is watching my video for 15 minutes, 30 times his Google banner ads also refreshed. And that gives an extra monetization avenue to the media website also, right? And in between, whatever brand plugins we have, we also give a fixed cost as a distribution partner just because they are partners with us. It's a win-win situation, right? It's a
Hmm.
partnership model. So that's how media companies work, and largely apps. And lastly, apps.
Hmm.
So again, we are partners with many apps. These are those apps which want to again show content to their users. So either we create a full section with them called videos.
Hmm.
It could be, let's say, screen recorder, right?
Hmm.
So we have screen recording apps as partners, we have messenger apps as partners, we have shopping apps as partners. They simply put either something called videos, and they know that if there is a section called videos, people will go inside the app and they click it. Or it could be again like this media website example, where during the scroll on home page, there will be content widgets that will keep appearing, which is ours. So we have cracked, I would say, multiple models, all kinds of formats, and distribution, I would say, is one of our strongest key points. We can target users based on geography, based on location, based on multiple things, depending upon what brand or what content affinity has. Anonymously, we create user persona. So Amit likes one kind of content versus Shiladitya. So no point showing what Shiladitya likes to Amit, right? just to increase content stickiness and stuff. So machine learning and neural network ticks in there. And hence we say we are a content tech platform rather than purely a content company
Mm.
like the example that you gave earlier.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's
Nice.
impressive.
I mean, there's quite a bit to dig into that, in fact, and I have a few follow up questions. But I just want to take two things you mentioned. Right, you mentioned that you actually started the distribution piece first. You got into the tech part of display before getting into the content creation part of display professionally. Even though you came from a world where you were doing content, right? What was that core insight that you saw uh, doing that distribution play, which sort of said, listen, I have to own the whole stack, or I have to also produce the content. Like, in a way, what you're saying is that you produce viral content, right? To oversimplify it. But everything you shared with us sounds very like that. So, what did you learn in trying, in the early days of just building the distribution that sort of pointed you in this direction? Is what I've.
Yeah, I would say rather than we building viral content, our content goes viral because it is a data-driven content creation process. We already get a lot of signals in terms of what users are watching, what they don't watch, what they don't like, what kind of content they share, what kind of content they skip or pause and stuff, and all of that, right? And so and we also understand that which kind of users we have more who who love specific kind of content. So it's a lot of data driven process, and hence from that perspective I would say the propensity of our content going viral is higher, considering we already know before creating the content that what users would like, and also it is at times time driven. So yeah, that piece handled. To answer your question directly, as I said, in the world of Asian Paints, my last company that I was in, and my co-founder also comes from Asian Paints, Rahul. Uh, the insight was enabling distribution. If you see, actually, as I gave you the example, right, it's a distribution company at heart. Tomorrow, so today Asian Paints is into multiple things, not just into paints. They sell wallpapers, they sell adhesives, they sell bath fittings, they sell kitchen. There's so many things. If your distribution is solid, you can sell literally anything under the world, right? Facebook started with distribution on their own platform, though. And Facebook today does a lot of things, including not just an ad network, but also enabling retail people to sell around, right? WhatsApp, we have been discussing about, they will come up with payment solutions to grocery solutions to hundreds of things we'll see. WeChat anyway has proven that model. The core insight is distribution is the key. And if your distribution is solved, uh, whatever your passion is, you can try and drive that through. So we spent actually, to answer your question, initial part of 2 to 3 years solving the distribution first, and we faced massive challenges, especially related to technology. And that's where my third co-founder Naginder, who is an AI specialist, came into very picture very handy, because uh, we are talking about multiple different ecosystems here. We are talking about apps and multiple different kinds of apps. It could be a browser app which has a very different encoder as compared to a typical app, or maybe a minus one screen that we are talking about OEMs like Geophone that is built on a very different operating software as compared to typical. We are talking about websites, different websites, somebody built on PHP versus somebody built on JavaScript versus somebody on different kind of tech stacks. The challenge was to create a universal code that goes and sits and fits in everywhere. Initially, when we were onboarding distribution partners, we were taking close to month and a half just to get the code right and the video compatible. Today, we do that in a span of 1 day, right? So this entire piece actually was our biggest learning, and there were times when we felt that it is difficult to crack because technology maybe is limiting, but we were, I would say, we kept perseverance and we kept on doing distribution. We spent a lot of money acquiring content initially, right? So we were by far not making money. Fortunately, we had those investors who were patient investors or have been patient investors. They were not on our head to bring the revenues and profits right from day one, because they understood the vision that we were creating, and they realized that if the company is able to solve distribution, then obviously After a while, it becomes just a matter of time before we start scaling very, very fast. So today we do GMV is worth $18 million annually, and that was only possible, and it was zero 2 years ago, just to give you that
Mm,
understanding, right? It was only possible because we just kept working ruthlessly on distribution, spending money on content initially, because what will you show in the video play if you don't have content? But when the distribution started seeming solved, we started then coming up with their own proprietary content
mm,
where we could make much, much more money as compared to what we were doing initially. And we also realized that a content that is already available on YouTube, if we start taking that to our publishers, there were some, I would say, disturbances where the creator would go and say, "This is my content, which my non-exclusive partner is anyway sharing with you. Is there a way we can work directly?" Because the creator was not willing to work a margin with us, right?
mm.
And we realized that in the journey, distribution is ours, and let's try and start coming up with products that we can control, which meant exclusive content.
Wow, nice. Quick follow up to that. You actually gave the example, right? That you went out building a distribution network similar to what Facebook and the others built. In fact, uh, this asks me, this tells me about us the space which is actually dominated by the likes of, let's say, a Facebook and these very big companies, or these ad distribution networks. There are so many of, like, I don't know if it's Criteo or all of these other various companies. You keep seeing the small tags of, when you skip through ads on various pages. How did you go up against that side of the industry, which is actually so polarized? In fact, now getting more so now, in fact, we are seeing the opposite, right? The OEMs and everyone are sort of pushing back against them, saying privacy and all of that. So how did you even think of going up against that sort of massive distribution and building your own network?
So we built this in a very, very, I would say, planned and structured manner. A lot of things did happen serendipitously. I wouldn't say that everything was 100% planned. No entrepreneur can plan everything. Your plan A, plan B, plan C all goes for a toss the moment you hit the market. And if there are budding entrepreneurs listening to this, my advice to them is that be open, because you might be selling a completely different product than what you launched initially, because the plans actually don't work always. Um, Here in our case, uh, there are two parts to it that we realized very early on, and we said that some of the games we will not venture into, right? First, to set the context, uh, we don't show video ads. So if you're a brand and you say, "Hey, here is my 30 seconder, go and play on your network," we have no better propensity than, or no better solution than a Google or a Facebook. They can target far deeper as compared to what Flickstree can target, right? And hence that business is something that. So somebody gave me a very good example earlier sometime, and Sachin used to be, or it still happens to be, the god of cricket. Somebody says, "Can you beat Sachin Tendulkar in sport?" And I said, "No, I can't beat Sachin in sport." He said, "What if you're not playing cricket against him, but maybe you are playing chess?" I said, "Yeah, then I can beat Sachin in sport." Don't play the sport that your competitor or behemoth competitors are already excelled in. If you want to beat them, invent your own game. In that context, we said our game is going to be, while distribution is something that they have solved, distribution is something in a way today we have solved, but let's not have their game of content distribution that somebody else has created, right? Let us create better solutions. Facebook doesn't create content. Google doesn't create content, right? And when we create content, we necessarily don't create all of our content. We are more like Netflix originals, where we also commission a lot of content outside, so that we don't aim to do one or two shows a month. We can do 5 shows, 6 shows, 10 shows a month, right? Because we work with a network of creators, and of course, there are certain, but we control the overall treatment and the quality and stuff. In the overall scheme of events, if you ask me, since you gave these examples, I would say we are still inspired by some of these gold standards: Facebook, Google, Amazon. Uh, what does Facebook know? Facebook knows our content interests, our content affinity. From that angle, anonymously, because we don't have users log into our platform when they're watching our content. So, anonymously, when we create user persona, We know uh, what users like and what are their interest areas, what is their content affinity, right? So from that perspective, we are inspired by Facebook. We are inspired by Google on intent. When you go and search anything on Google search, Google knows that what is your current intention is, and they obviously show ads based on your current intention. uh, we know which websites the user is currently watching our video because our video player is on a website which gives us signals, and based on that we understand what the user's current intention is, so that we can try and show those content that the user is more likely to engage. If he's watching India 1 T20 International and you show him certain sports related content, it's much better as compared to showing him a content which is completely unrelated, right? So we also understand intent, and that way we are inspired by that gold standard of Google. Lastly, Amazon understands our wallet power. Amazon knows what Amit is likely to purchase and Shiladitya is likely to purchase based on what kind of wallet power that you have displayed in the past. Since users end up buying a lot of products from us or through us, going to the brand website, and since we are integrated on the thank you page, we know what anonymously a user wallet power is, so that we also accordingly showcase those products that a user is more likely to buy than not. So we have in a way still taken inspirations from some of these large companies, but we are still trying and playing our own game here.
And do these changes in privacy regulations and restriction of cookies and all of this affect you as well?
So third party cookies affect, first parties don't. We integrate server to server directly, and hence some of those concerns don't come to us. As I kept mentioning multiple times, anonymous data, we absolutely don't know who Shiladitya is or who Amit is. We don't store any of your understanding. All that we do is we anonymously understand that this particular device last time watched this content. So the propensity for to improve your user experience is show that content that you're more likely to watch, right?
Hmm.
Nothing is stored on our servers, and as I said, all information is 100% anonymous, so we don't know who you are.
How much content did you all make last year?
In terms of content pieces, must be about 5,000.
You made 5,000 pieces of content. 5,000 pieces. Wow.
And like snippets or long, like what's your average length also, if I may ask?
So,
What's the
so
video
there are
length?
different properties. Some of the
Yeah.
properties are, yeah, some of the properties are. So, if you're talking about, let's say, shoppable content, that's not 20 minutes, right? Nobody
Right.
watches the content for 20 minutes. That's anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes.
Hmm.
If you're talking about, those are listicles, right? Top five this, top five that you want to buy and stuff. If we are talking about now, which is more like curiosity generation, why do we blink eyes? That's
Mhm.
again in the zone of about 2 to 2.5 minutes. If we are watching, if you're talking, so we create a lot of chat stories, conversations between two people and stuff. That's anywhere between 5 to 6 minutes, and the IPs are anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes.
And what's your language mix?
Hindi, definitely, which is the biggest market for us.
Mhm.
We do a lot of international content, and from that perspective, English UK and English US, English India is very little for us,
Okay.
which means the voiceover artists are non-Indians, because that's serving a different global audience altogether.
Right.
Then we have a bit of Indonesian. In India, we have Marathi, we have Bengali a bit, and in South we have Tamil.
And so you know what? I just the idea that you were doing this internationally just completely escaped me till now. So, you when you're working with international brand partners as well, you localize content down to that degree, where you're also like, for example, your shopping ideas, right? The kind of content you're creating there. Mintra is primarily an Indian website. So, if you're creating similar content in the US, you would tie up with corresponding websites over there. So, you're working like with brands all across the world too.
That's right. So overall, if you ask me, as far as shopping content goes, more than 50% of our revenues comes from outside of India, because
Wow.
what happens is fashion, for example, in certain markets are extremely big, and so Middle East is one of our large markets. Obviously, the content there is Arabic, and some of these fashion influencers during their festive months and holy months, etc., are able to generate some great content through us, and so that works very well. Indonesia is again a very, very high mobile penetration market that works quite well for us. And in terms of mature markets, I think UK is, I would say, a reasonable market for us from a perspective. About 6% of sales internationally comes from UK alone. So that's another big market yet. US,
And
we haven't cracked that much yet.
the creation that you all look at, right? Your content creation pieces themselves, they're created in all of the markets that you're serving, or are they mostly created like I mean, based out of India? Are they created out of India, or are they create like do you create content based on the markets that that content is supposed to serve?
So, if we are creating content which is based on libraries that we have, that happens in India.
Okay.
Now, let's say we are doing a content for a brand where we require certain footages which needs to have local flavor. Not always we may have those local flavor, like Arabic markets, etc., have a very, very specific nuance as compared to, let's say, an Indian market, which is very, very different from that nature. So there, obviously, we tie up with some of the local video creators, and we give them specific tasks that in our video library we require, let's say, 25 or 50 these kind of footages which can be reusable in different videos if need be,
Hmm.
right? So once those footages then come, it is again stitched back in India. So from a perspective of efficiency, I would say India is where the content creation happens, footage and library myth building happens globally,
Right.
and finally the distribution happens globally.
Wow.
Sort of this sort of is like it goes to show how much that massive distribution or building that distribution you spoke about matters, right? Especially international, especially the fact that you're sitting here and you're actually doing this, globally, uh, which is typical of a lot of these kind of massive digital networks, which you've clearly, we've been able to break into. Where do you go from here? Like, where is the roadmap or the innovation that you're building out? Is it more to do with the deeper into tech? Is it more to do with exploring new types of content? uh, how do you expand this vision now?
So we are content tech. That means content first, technology as an enabler, right? We don't intend to do SaaS model, software as a service. We don't try. While a lot of our tech is travelable, not just into our company but into multiple other companies. But right now, that is not on our mind. We are building a massive data set, and one of the opportunities obviously remains of the data management platform, if that we want to open up on the distribution side in a future date. But those are some of the conversations that are parked behind. We are content tech. There are multiple formats of great content. Some of the brands who are benefited, I would say, we have still scratched the surface. Intelligently, interestingly, we have built a model that worldwide is a work of two or three different companies who have done, right. So we have in a way able to do all of it together, and that has made us we most of our work today is inbound, right? We are working with brands, we are working with governments, we are working with worldwide different kind of companies. People are figuring this out, working through references. We have just a three-member sales team. So from that angle, I would say a lot of work is coming, and I think that we can create a massive moat as we go forward, which will make the content industry look maybe very much different some 3 to 4 years from now, if done correctly. So that's largely on our mind, and of course, we take pride of being an Indian global company.
I and, to go a little more, and maybe ask the what is the threat to your business? Like, I have is you mentioned earlier that you're not in the social media space, whereas that is obviously booming. Like, people are creating, like, people's humans attention span is going down, so they want shorter interesting content, right? So that social media formats, short video format, is that a format you actively stay away from, or are you thinking of going there? And second, actually, another uh, interesting thing which we've seen with a lot of other tech companies is, like, they are actually creating content through tech also. So without the production, without the anything, you now have companies which generate videos automatically just by pulling free sources of content together. So do you see these two things as things you might also do, or do you see things as this sort of conflicting with your market and your model?
So it's not conflicting, but we have tried this in the past, right? We have realized that for now, for the market is not ready for a fewer things. Especially, let's say, if you want to generate commerce
Hmm.
and if you want to create brand consideration, you can't create brand consideration in 10 seconds. You
Hmm.
can't move human purchase behavior or maybe or the awareness in 15 seconds, right? You have to keep doing multiple different things and then you end up making brand ads. In the method of storytelling, I think what has suited us or what has given us a sweet spot for the short format content, I would say, is about 2 minutes. And just to give you that sense, despite we doing 500 million video plays, our video completion rate is 52%, which means that if there's a video for 100 seconds, on an average, people are watching at 52
Across all platforms?
across platforms, right? Across 500
Wow.
million. So that's, I would say, is quite high, considering the fact that the content consumption is very, very high across
Yeah, and
multiple.
also, I mean, like a lot of your content is like, it's not, it comes in front of you rather than you seeking it out. So seeing 52% completion's amazing.
And I think that is one insight, just to give you one insight on there. I think if you don't take relatable characters,
Hmm.
this 52% comes down to maybe 24. I don't know,
Hmm.
right?
So you mean
Uh,
the thing where you're talking about making assumptions or making assumptions is not the right word, but making intuitive leaps based on what previous consumption is. That's what you mean by that in
So
terms
one is
of.
that what is data driven content. Second is also if you have relatable characters inside your content. It could be
Hmm,
influencers, it could be celebrities, it could be whoever. People love watching them,
hmm,
right? People love like to see who they have seen otherwise somewhere because people just relate to them,
right.
right? And from that perspective, I have seen that that really works with us. And the more relatable characters come into a content,
Interesting.
suddenly the content consumption keeps zooming. So even if it is 20 minutes power play league, people wait till the end, till the time Saurav Ganguly says, "See you till the next episode," right?
Okay.
So people watch it till absolute end. So I think that is one big insight that we got, and again the insight came because of data, like how you said,
Hmm.
right? So that's there. So to answer Shiladitya's question, right now the sweet spot is this, but the goalpost is always changing, and hence we are not averse to anything,
Hmm.
and we have removed the guesswork largely from the production because who are we to guess what people want to watch? Whatever the industry is moving towards, we will adapt our content need because we are building products that customers want rather than what we want.
Nice, wonderful. I mean, and what do you, as a founder who's in this space, what's the kind of shout out you would like to do to, let's say, anyone else working in this space, or people who are exploring working in this space, or even working with you for that matter?
So, okay, so I think one of the things that I generally tell everyone is that if there are three or four things that you have to consider, first consider working with the right set of people, because in some of these things, I have seen that uh, people opinion matters a lot, and if you are not working with the right set of like-minded people, I have seen that more often than not things start going getting haywire, and hence first find the right team. Second, I would say, as I just said, build what people want rather than what you think people want, and the best way to do it is experiment, right? Try and do different 4 or 5 formats of things. It's
Hmm.
good to fail early, I would say, because it helps you focus on that one thing less, because you already know this is not going to work. In this example you asked, does 15 seconds work? It doesn't work, so we are not just focusing on that. Otherwise we would say, okay, let's try again and maybe this time it would work. So it's good to fail early so that you know what you should not work for. Define your customer. Don't try to make your product for everyone. Don't try to make your content for everyone. You can't make content for everyone. If you have distribution sorted, like maybe to an extent we know what kind of user personas we have, and hence we make different kind of content for different people. If you don't know, choose one, define or hypothesize who you want to show your content to, and maybe work with them. Lastly, I would say keep things simple. I have seen that a lot of times people try to build fancy products where the solution maybe that demanded was much simpler as compared to what
Hmm.
it could have been. So, if you can't explain what you are building to a 7-year-old, you don't understand it well enough.
Wow.
Nice,
Hmm.
nice. And where do folks? By the way, you obviously don't produce content for social media, but are you on social media? How, where do people reach out to you if they want to say hello and talk to you about ideas they have or anything else?
I am active on LinkedIn, Saurabh Singh. I am semi-active on Twitter, S underscore Saurabh. And yeah, these are the two main formats of reaching out. And I do reply to people.
Awesome, great.
Awesome.
Also, I'd just like to remind everybody, please do give us a like or a review or whatever it is, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Do some Apple reviews, people, please. 70% of you are listening on iPhones, and I'm not seeing any reviews. Please do some reviews on the Apple podcast platform.
We know the data too.
Yes, we
So
do.
we see you even though we don't know who you are. So but I mean, sort of, this was a fascinating discussion. Thank you so much. I mean, the next time I notice a video, I probably have watched so many of your videos without even knowing, right? Then that's the beauty of it. So the next time I'm gonna see a now you know video, I think I'll remember that, oh, this is what you're talking about. See, but I think the beauty lies in the fact that I didn't know. So that's amazing, and congratulations on everything you're doing with Flickstree, and of course the journey ahead. And
Thank you, Shiladitya. It was such a wonderful conversation. I never realized when time passed by.
yes, thank you.